Now, cognitive attitude, what you believe and think, is really only one kind of attitude. I told you already that there are also behavioral attitudes and affective attitudes. And the truth is that in order for you to feel comfortable about what you're doing and thinking and feeling, those attitudes should be the same. And when they're not, it makes you feel bad. Now, there is a problem with behavior and cognitive and affective attitudes, and that is that they're hard to predict, right? Sometimes you know someone who tells you that they think it's really important to exercise, but then they don't exercise. You see them not exercising. Or you know someone who says it's important for you to study, but then they don't study. Or maybe your friend gives you great advice about your relationship, but your friend never takes his own advice. And so his relationship stops working. So it's very, very difficult to predict behavior based on attitudes unless some things come together. And so these are some of the things that must be present before you can even try to predict behavior. One of them is what we call low ambivalence. Low ambivalence means that you are not in the middle, right? Ambivalence means that you're not really sure which one is the best, or you could do either one. If you ask me, do you like mushroom pizza or pepperoni pizza? I'm going to tell you, I'm ambivalent to that, right? I don't care either way. If I am ambivalent, well, it's hard for you to predict which pizza I'm going to choose because I can take either one. And the same thing is true with certainty, right? You want high certainty. Someone with low certainty, again, would be very difficult for you to predict how they are going to behave. But if instead I have low ambivalence uh, and high certainty, what that means is that I definitely like one of these, right? Maybe I hate mushroom pizzas. And so I'm not ambivalent towards that. My ambivalence is very low. I, in fact, hate mushrooms, and my certainty is high. I certainly know that I do not like mushrooms. And so all of a sudden, it makes it a little bit easier to predict my behavior. There I have an example of poison ivy. Poison ivy is certain that she loves plants and she kind of hates people. She is not ambivalent. She is not unsure about her feelings. She knows it for a fact. She loves those plants and she hates those people. And so there's a good chance that that poor guy there is not going to make it. If I had to predict poison ivy's behavior, I would say she's probably going to at least try to kill that guy. Now, um, another way to predict behavior is if your cognitive and affective attitudes are the same. Remember, cognitive attitudes is what you think, the the facts that you believe in, your values, things like that. Whereas affective attitude is how that makes you feel. And so, if you're sure you like something, and automatically it makes you feel good, well, then I can be pretty certain that you're going to do that behavior, right? If I take pizza again, if I know that I like pepperoni, and whenever I see pepperoni on a pizza, I get super excited, then I know that I'm going to eat that pizza. Or you can make the guess that I'm going to eat that pizza. And if I know that I don't like mushrooms, I've said so to you. And when someone buys mushroom pizza, you can tell that I just don't like it. I get grossed out, right? My affective attitude is in line there with my cognitive attitude. So you can likely make a good prediction that I'm not going to eat that pizza. If you see the little kids there, they saw that and they are super excited about that. You'll also notice that his behavior or the kid's behavior is quick and automatic, right? They're not thinking about it, they're reacting emotionally right away. And so I could probably make a good prediction about these kids, that they are going to enjoy playing with that toy, that they're going to like playing it for a while, etc. Another way that I can predict behavior is by long-term and stable attitudes. If I hated mushroom pizza a year ago, and then we went to eat 6 months ago, and I still hated mushroom pizzas, there's a good chance that if you order mushroom pizza today, I'm also not going to like it today. And you can make a good prediction about that, right? Because you've seen that my attitude has been stable and long term for as long as you've known me in this scenario, a year. There you see that boy playing with his puppy, and now he's a man, and he's still playing with that puppy. His attitude has been long term and stable. So if I had to make a prediction about how he's going to treat his dog today, I feel comfortable that I can say, oh, he's going to pet him, he's going to play with the dog, he's going to give the dog snack, because I can see that his behavior is long term and stable. Also, if you have direct experience with something, it's going to be easier to make a good prediction. So in this case, some people hate Hawaiian pizza because they've seen memes, they have heard people who don't like pineapple on their pizza. And that's not really a good predictor, because maybe if you try it, you'll like it. But if you've tried Hawaiian pizza and you don't like it, right? You've had direct experience and you don't like it. Well, that is a good predictor of how you will behave the next time someone offers you a Hawaiian pizza, because I know that you've had direct experience, and in your direct experience, you didn't like it. So therefore, it'll be easier to make a prediction. One more way to make a prediction is when someone has a negative mood. You see, if you don't like mushrooms on your pizza, or you don't like pineapple on your pizza, you might still eat it if you don't want to make the other person feel bad, right? Let's say your best friend bought you that pizza and you don't really like it, but you don't want to make them feel bad because you haven't seen them in a couple of years or something like that. And you might eat it even though you don't like it. But if you're in a bad mood, it's harder for you to do that. And so your real attitudes will come to the surface. And the same thing is true with any of these things, right? Poison Ivy, if she's in a really good mood, might end up not killing that guy. But if she's in a bad mood, which she often is, uh, her natural attitudes are more likely to come out. And there you see Barbara, her mood is negative, so her attitudes come out. It's hard for her to control them here at this moment. Now, one of the things I've been telling you is that we like our attitudes to be consistent. That is, if you have one cognitive attitude, you want your affective and behavioral attitudes to be the same. And when they're not, they make you feel bad. If you think that jogging is good for you, that's your cognitive attitude, but then you never go jogging, well, all of a sudden, your behavioral attitude and your cognitive attitudes aren't meshing. And so we call that cognitive dissonance. And the problem with cognitive dissonance is that it makes you feel bad. And when it makes you feel bad, all of a sudden, you have this great need to change one of your attitudes. And so here we have the example I gave. If your behavioral attitude is that you go running every day, and your cognitive attitude is that you think running is good for you, and your affective attitude is that you like running, and there she is, yay, running, well, then this is constancy. And so it's more likely that this behavior is going to continue, and also that it's going to be easier to predict, because cognitive and affective attitudes are the same. But if what ends up happening is that you never go running. You think running is good, but you never go running. what ends up happening is that you develop some cognitive dissonance. All of a sudden, it makes you feel bad. Every time you think, oh, running is good for you, you go, I haven't really gone running for a while. And every time, I don't know, your friends ask you, like, did you run? And you're like, oh, yeah, no, I didn't. I like doing it, or I really want to, but I haven't. And then it makes you feel kind of bad. And so what ends up happening is that one or more of these attitudes have to change. We would love it if the attitude that changed was the running, right? You started running more. And sure, of course, that happens sometimes. But a lot of times, that's not what happens. A lot of times, it becomes easier to change your cognitive and affective attitude. And so all of a sudden, you start to think, oh, who has the time to run? Or I exercise in other ways. Or, you know what? I've heard running is bad for your feet. And then all of a sudden, instead of thinking, yay, running, now you think, oh, running. Nah, I really rather not. And so all of a sudden now your attitudes are inconsistency, right? Uh, you don't run, you don't think running is that important, and your affective attitude is you kind of feel bad when you think about running. And so you feel good now. At least your attitudes are in line, which I know that doesn't make logical sense, but emotionally, that feels better than the cognitive dissonance of having attitudes that contradict each other. Now, I do want to go over one of the activities in your packet because oftentimes people have a little bit of a difficult time with it. So, this is, I think, number one. Um, so we know that Frank has been told that barbecue sauce is bad for your health. However, he and his friends actually love going to the local barbecue place, and they've been going since they were ninth graders. And he loves the taste of barbecue ribs. Just the mention of the words barbecue ribs makes his mouth waters. So here we have a cognitive attitude, something that Frank knows in his mind that barbecue sauce is bad for you. We have a behavioral attitude. He goes to this local barbecue place and he's been doing it for a while. And an emotional or affective attitude. He loves barbecue, and just the mention of it makes his mouth water. So again, here we have some form of cognitive dissonance. Here, even though Frank knows that barbecue sauce is bad for him, he still likes going to that barbecue place and he really loves barbecue ribs. And so there's a problem. So it would make sense that Frank, knowing this fact that barbecue sauce can be bad for you, that he should change his behavioral and affective attitudes. But that's not really the way it works. So, what you're going to think about is what predictors do we have? And so the first one is low ambivalence. While we know that Frank goes to the barbecue place, he's been going for a while, we know that he's low in ambivalence there because he does it all the time. And he loves the taste of barbecue, so that's also low in ambivalence. He doesn't take it or leave it, he seems to love it. And the same thing with B. He's certain that he likes that barbecue place, and he's certain that he loves barbecued ribs. A and B often go together. Now, I wouldn't say that Frank's cognitive attitude is low in ambivalence because somebody just told him that. We don't even know if he believes it for sure. We're not sure if he's low in ambivalence or high in certainty there. Now, are his cognitive and affective attitudes the same? Well, no. His cognitive attitude is that barbecue sauce is bad for you, the one at the top, and his affective attitude is that his mouth waters at the mere mention of barbecued ribs. So this one doesn't kind of really work at all, so we can get rid of it. Now, are any of his attitudes immediate and automatic? Yeah, well, we know for a fact that just the mere mention of barbecued ribs makes his mouth water. So that's immediate and automatic. Are any of the attitudes long term? Well, we know that he's been going to this barbecue place since he was a ninth grader, so that's pretty long term. And Are any of the attitudes developed through direct experience? Yeah, he's had barbecued ribs before, so that's direct experience. And he goes to this local barbecue place. He goes himself, that's direct experience. Has he had direct experience with barbecue sauce being bad for you? No, he hasn't. And so if I had to choose which one of these attitudes is going to change, I would probably choose that Frank will change his cognitive attitude. He'll likely say something like, yeah, I've heard that before, but people say everything is bad for you. Or he might say something like, how could something that tastes so good be bad? People come up with all types of ways to kind of fool themselves into changing their cognitive attitudes. And the truth is that kind of the smarter you are, the better you are at fooling yourself because you could come up with pretty decent excuses to believe in. But as you're doing this page on the packet, well, you're usually going to end up choosing the attitude that has the least amount of these. Right? So as you do some of them, one of them might have 2 and the other ones might have 4 or 5. Well, probably the one that's going to change is going to be the one with only 2 things. So if you have any questions about this, please make sure that you send me an email and I'll be glad to help you with it.